when I was a kid, I remember when we bought our first house, I was, about 10 years old. And it was a big deal because there were 7 of us at one point when I was born living in one little 2-bedroom apartment and with one bathroom. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be great one day? Even from as young as I was, to have like a home with my own bathroom.
You were 10 years old then?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And putting the relationships first, but with the client, but also with the other agents that are out there, understanding it's a really big community, and
be nice.
It really behooves you to be nice, and if it's natural to you, that's great. If it's not, then you better work on it. So no, I think you never stop learning. You never stop being curious, and for me, it's still about giving and giving back. And I love that the most.
Yeah,
that's when I'm most comfortable. So
it's really inspiring. Well, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Mortgage Lounge. I'm Jason Thibodeau, your host with JMJ Financial, and I'm really, really excited to have this guest with me today, Miss Jody Clegg, the one and only, with Compass Real Estate.
Thank you.
A lot of you have probably already heard of her, know her maybe even, but if you don't, you're looking at one of the top realtors in all of the Southern California marketplace, especially coastal Orange County, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you.
So one of the things that just is worth sharing before we dive in, I got into the industry very young. I think you did too, 20 years old. And
yes.
I was prospecting as a young and starving and very scared loan officer in my 20s. And I don't know if you remember this, but I visited your open house when I was a lot younger, in my 20s, many, many years ago. And what struck me about you, Jody, because you're used to...
Do we get that old?
Yeah, we do. It's
right.
okay. Embrace it.
Okay.
But what struck me about you, because I'm used to the rejection piece. And what I've noticed with you that was very different is I'm this 20-something-year-old, a little bit scared, got the baby face, and there you are sitting in your own open house as a top producer, which is saying something, rather than having somebody else sit it. And you were really, really kind to me. And it wasn't just kindness, you were present, you were willing to listen to me, and you also had your own questions and engaged with me in conversation where it's like, oh, wow. And when I left, you're like, all right, have a great day. And I'm like,
well, good.
Sometimes you're getting steamrolled, especially from a top producer or something like that, especially if you're approaching it a little timid, a little scared, a little inexperienced. So kudos to you. I always appreciated that about you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I hope so. I still want to be like that. I'm hoping I'm still like that.
Yeah.
I try.
Well, we talked about that story. Let's start with kind of like origin story, what got you into real estate, and we'll get into some other items as far as like health and wellness and X's and O's of what's sustained your success, because you've sustained your success, and a lot of people can get to the success bar but can't sustain it. We'll talk all about that.
Okay.
But talk to us about how you got your start.
Well, how I got my start. So when I was a kid, I remember when we bought our first house, I was, about 10 years old. And it was a big deal because there were 7 of us at one point when I was born living in one little 2-bedroom apartment and with one bathroom. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be great one day? Even from as young as I was, to have like a home with my own bathroom.
You were 10 years old then?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember thinking that. And so when we did buy a home, again, we shared one bath for a while until they added on. I think I was pretty fascinated by the idea of having a home and having, being able to live where I wanted to live, hence packed my car at 19 from the East Coast.
Oh, interesting. Oh, you're on the East
west.
Coast.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Got it.
I was born right outside of Boston. Yeah, I was born.
Come up a little bit closer. There you go. Yeah, just want to make sure they can hear you.
Hello. So I was born right outside of Boston. My mom's the youngest of 15, big Italian family. Anyway, so when I drove west, I knew, at 19, I'm not going back. I'm going to make a life here.
At 19. And you said your mom was the youngest of 15?
15, yes.
Wow.
Yes, big Italian family. And that's a baking story that you'll hear about another time, but that's how I got into baking. So anyway, but really real estate to me, it was really about a home. It was about having a home. And so I started saving every penny I could. And I've been in sales. I've been in commission sales since I was 19. So I haven't had a paycheck, a real paycheck, I guess.
Something that shows up every Friday or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's a certain breed of, I think, person that can do that, right? But anyway, I was fascinated by the idea of having a home one day, and so I saved up every penny I could, and by the time I was 24, I actually bought 3 properties.
Wow.
I bought my first home in Huntington Beach, and then bought 2 other rental properties, and that was, right at that time.
Were you originally landing in Huntington Beach from East Coast?
No, I started off in South Bay, the
Okay.
Redondo Beach area. Yeah, and then I met my husband, well, soon-to-be husband, there, and then that's where, again, together we bought those properties. But I had done everything in my power to save money to buy homes because I knew, I really wanted a home.
That's a really cool story.
And it was an awful home, by the way, my first home that I bought, yeah.
Yeah, well, stepping stone properties, right?
Yes,
We could talk about
yes.
that too. But I can really appreciate, I love hearing the origin stories because it kind of helps you understand why you're driven the way you are, and being a family without a lot of money. And then, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the most basic form of our need is what? Shelter.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
So it actually makes a heck of a lot of sense why you'd be so driven to create the life you've created, if that was your experience at 10 years old.
Oh, I just think that never really went away. I think I was probably always an overachiever.
Yeah.
So that, you're pushing yourself, so.
For sure.
And I had that vision of I want to be a certain place, not necessarily a big mansion. I didn't have that idea. It was more like living where I wanted to live.
Yeah. Independence.
And having my own bathroom.
And being able to bake whatever you want to bake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Simplicity, too.
What you guys don't know is she showed up today with her own baked goods for us, which I'm really excited about. Thank you very much. It was brownies and was it vegan blueberry?
Lemon blueberry muffins, too.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
So I was the recipient of that. I'm starting to connect the dots.
Yeah.
So you bought your first 3 properties at 23 or 24?
24.
Really impressive. And did you have your license at that point, or at one point did you?
I didn't. And that's kind of, it started to grow where, we actually, at the time I was married, my husband and I, we flipped a few properties. And again, that's different then as it is now.
Yeah.
And we had a couple rentals. But eventually I decided that, and we decided too, that it would be great for me to help other clients, help other people to buy and sell.
When did you
and
get
I
your
loved
license?
it so much. Not until it was 1997. So now I'm in my 28th year of real estate, which I still can't believe that. Time flies.
And still driven. Still purpose driven.
I am.
Yeah, I don't see you slowing down at all.
No, it's a different kind of momentum I feel now,
Sure.
but I still passionately love what I do.
Yeah.
I love what I do.
Well, a lot of what you're doing right now is sounding like mentorship, coaching, helping other people.
Yeah, that's the best. That's the icing on the cake.
Yeah, it's one of my passions too. It took me a long time to figure it out. Mentorship is the thing that changed my life. And now it's like, okay, I know what it was like to be, you're on the real estate side, I'm on the finance side of real estate. But I know it was like to be a little bit lost, a little bit confused, but you knew you wanted to succeed and you were willing to do it and you were willing to be coachable.
Right.
It's really cool when I can take somebody who is coachable. Coachability is key.
Yeah, I say that all the time too.
Right?
Yeah.
You could lead a horse to water type thing. So it's not everyone, but if you are coachable and you are willing to do the work, it's not that complicated, but it doesn't make it easy. And the passion for me is taking what took me 15 or 20 years to figure out and condensing that down to a 5 to 7 year time span.
Yes.
And people, I've noticed with, especially this generation or younger generations, this concept of instant gratification.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been 6 months. All right.
So true.
Why am I not making $1 million a year? Right.
I know.
So the reminder, I think, is Jody's been at this for 28 years. I started in 2004. You're right. Our careers do, the roots deepen and the cadence of everything. While it's a lot, it's a very different experience than the grind in the beginning just to prove yourself.
Yes. Very, very true.
Well, let's talk about health and wellness a little bit, because we're going to get into the X's and O's, but like context of our industry in the last 3 years has not been super easy. And you never want to blame the market.
No.
I understand hard work is everything. However, inventory has been an issue.
Yes.
Interest rates has been an issue.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of people who were able to rely upon steady income and a career provide for their family has felt 3 years almost like they've been sort of in purgatory to a certain extent.
Right.
There's obviously plenty of successful people even in this market. I'm not saying there's not.
Right.
But, for the up-and-comer, dealing with managing stress, the fight or flight response in escrow periods, right? Holding space for difficult personalities, dealing with escrows that fall out, not getting a paycheck for a month. Like, if you could do it all over again, maybe what advice would you give to a younger realtor starting out and how to take care of themselves?
Boy, there's so much to that. That's
Yeah.
like a whole nother,
I know.
discussion. And I think I told you that I'm on that mindset call once a month with a coaching group. And we at 6 a.m. and we talk a lot about the balance of life. But what advice would I give to a new agent today or any agent today? You want to talk about the new agent?
I think so, or any agent too, because I do know that some seasoned agents are feeling the struggle.
Yes,
right.
I think it's both.
Yeah.
Yes, it's kind of across the board. I'm not seeing it. It's not, no one's immune to this market, right?
No.
As far as like the challenges to the market. I think the only thing I would say some of the things that would help with my experience and maybe giving some advice there is that there are some things a lot of things we can't control, right?
Yeah.
We can't control the interest rates. We can't control
So true.
Affordability. We can't control whether appreciation or whether there's again, you're talking about just inventory. We cannot personally control that, right?
Right.
So I think that's already number one. We have to digest the fact that a lot of things we cannot control.
Be an acceptance of that. Yeah.
So, controlling what we can, which is just showing up every day, keeping yourself sharp-tuned, staying informed, staying educated. There is a constant path of improvement that I am on personally, but also with real estate. And then keeping yourself well.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about health and wellness, because there are challenges with everything in the world right now. So and that's not necessarily going away. So what we can do is take good care of ourselves, give ourselves a break, but also be realistic, And I think for agents that I don't know if the statistic is right. There's something like 16,000 agents in Orange County.
Yeah.
Is that right? I don't know. It's huge.
That sounds right. Sure, it's close
And
enough.
then like half of them didn't sell a home last year.
Yeah.
That's really a
hard.
challenge. And so, speaking to, what can people do? And of course, starting off with health and wellness as your foundation, like anything else, and having a faith in something other than just, again, people just pride themselves in being so busy, but like have a real plan, and also take care of yourself first, and then continuously be willing to learn and grow, and like you said, be coachable.
Yes. The whole thing you mentioned about maybe allowing for a break.
Yes.
Because sometimes even if you're not busy, you won't allow. I can't speak for other people. I can feel this personally as an individual sometimes where my desk isn't too crazy.
All right.
And then there's this moment of, I could go for a run at the beach. I could do something that's self-honoring. And then there's this voice in the back of the head that says, that's not allowed. You know what I mean?
Right.
Hey, if you're not busy, you should be dialing for dollars. You should be this, you should be that. And a lot of here's an example. Easter last week. It happens every year. And I'm very proud of myself.
It does happen every year.
Easter comes every year. But the point is, that Easter week is spring break. It's the Easter holiday. And there's a noticeable slowdown in our company, my branch's origination activity. And old Jason would be like, oh no.
Right.
Panic button, right? And then, but now there's awareness of, no, people are on vacation. People are in holiday mode.
Right.
And you're supposed to be in holiday mode. And there's this simple shift in one's nervous system and mentality that I found that I'm trying to employ is when these moments come that you don't resist it, right? Because sometimes it's the resistance to the allowing of, rest, recovery, self-honoring, therapy even.
Right.
That means you got one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Eventually something's going to blow. So I think that's a problem right now in our industry. And are there some things that you do specifically on a personal level to restore and recover, just out of curiosity?
Well, if you're talking about, I think I try to do both physically and mentally.
Yeah.
I think it requires both for someone like me. You can tell I'm fidgeting, I move around in my chair, I have a lot of energy. It's hard for me to stay put, and I've come to terms with that. I think we need to know who we are first, right?
Self-acceptance, yeah.
Yeah, and so I don't think, I don't think everybody has my energy. So my advice to somebody would be, first of all, know who you are. Know what you need, because it's personal to you.
And it's very different sometimes.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I need to get in the water every so often. And
you surf.
I do.
Yeah.
I do surf. I need to do yoga often. I stretch a lot and practice like a lot of just calm, which you can't imagine because I don't seem calm, I don't think, but I do a lot of like calming, or what I would say grounding. That's a big word right now.
It's a lot of barefoot walking.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's why surfing's so great, is that it's
totally.
really,
You're
you're really grounding.
Yes.
You're on the sand, you're in the water. But
Nature's a big deal.
Getting
for
outside,
restoration.
yeah. So getting outside is huge, and I very rarely go a day that I'm not spending time outdoors in some physical way.
Yeah.
And of course, you've learned that baking is a therapy, and that's a little bit of I almost feel like it's a genetic thing. Like
It probably is.
I don't
It
know
came
why.
from your family,
yeah,
for sure.
exactly. It's genetic, but it does provide a therapy as well. And then just really, there are, I do listen to a lot of podcasts, a lot of audiobooks. I love a lot of the things, like the Mel Robbins Let
the
Them.
5-second rule?
Yeah,
Yes.
Let Them,
Yes.
or just, again, kind of staying
Plugged
in
into
the
that
right
stuff.
mindset, too. And I think that it's a balance, though.
Yeah.
I don't do the same exact thing every day.
Right.
I
We're not
did.
robots,
I used to do that. That was a little too much, but now I give myself a lot more grace.
Good. Like eating baked goods.
Yeah, oh yeah, I always did that though.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's two things that came up for me. Being intentional. Like, I think people are sometimes people just fall asleep at the wheel. I do the same thing.
Yes.
And maybe think, it's going to happen on its own. I'm going to grow just because.
Right.
And that's just not how life works. You kind of have to we talked about coachability, but you have to be intentional. Like making decisions to focus on grounding, nature, surfing, baked goods. It's totally her thing. It's not necessarily your thing, whoever's listening to this, but whatever that is for you, it's not going to happen on its own. You have to schedule these things in. The other thing is talking about being too uptight with the regimen, Like, I think the society we're in has a tendency of like, well, I'm up at 4 a.m. and then at 4:30 I'm doing this, and then at 5 I'm doing this, and then at 6 I'm doing this, and you're exhausted by the time you're done self-honoring.
Yeah, very true. Yes.
That can, finding the balance, I think is what you said.
Balance is key.
Yeah.
But, and it's not a perfect balance either.
No.
It's just, if you expect that, that's also pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very nuanced, isn't it?
It really
it
is.
really does take time. Like that we talk about 10,000 hours of mastery. I think you probably have 1 million hours of mastery in real
I
estate.
feel like that.
But the self-honoring thing takes time too. I would go for walks and listen to Eckhart Tolle when I was first starting to do the personal development stuff. He'd be like, "Oh, look at the trees, look at the leaves," and I'd be like, looking at the trees, looking at the leaves. But it wasn't doing it for me, because I was like trying so hard to be present.
Yes.
Like, allow for the fact that it's not going to feel great in the beginning.
Yes.
Like going from the kiddie pool of life into the deep end.
Right.
You're going to struggle.
Yes.
But you have to, with intentionality, practice this stuff and let it take a few years to figure out.
Yeah, and it's distracting. I mean, the world is distracting right now, especially with social media.
Oh my gosh.
And comparison. And, the story that is on Instagram isn't necessarily the story that's really happening in someone's life.
We know that's true, too.
So we definitely know that's true. And we know that's true with real estate. I'm on a lot of real estate panels where, it makes it look like, oh, we just listed this, $100 million home and they're doing phenomenally.
8-day escrow, double N, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
And generally behind the real story is, a lot more chaos or maybe unhappiness, the lack of balance in their life. It could be anything, and I'm not saying that's true for everyone.
No, some people,
it's just that it can be deceiving, right? Yeah. Social media can be very deceiving.
Take it with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the thing that our industry lacks, and that's why I told you I was excited to have this conversation. When you and Corinne, your daughter, responded with, "Well, we want to talk about health and wellness." I'm like, "You do? That's exciting," because it's not a conversation that I think is becoming a little bit more part of the equation in real estate in our industry,
right?
But it's maybe still not at the forefront. So having these discussions of health and wellness, and then the scary word, vulnerability.
I know.
Where we're talking about things that aren't what you see on Instagram, right?
100%.
Where we really do fail, we struggle, we say things we shouldn't, we lash out, we can't sleep at night because of something we did or didn't do or forgot to do. Crying,
Yes.
like allowing for crying.
I cried on one of my recent videos, but if you ask me the right question, I can cry.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, but allowing for that.
Right.
And in the spotlight like this, it shows that you are human too. You might be Jody Clegg extraordinaire, Compass Real Estate.
I don't feel like that. I don't feel like that. I really don't. I don't even relate to that. I know that's weird. I should relate to it. I don't relate to it. Sometimes I'm like, I sold over 2,000 homes. I remember when, we've done over $2 billion in real estate.
Yeah.
Like it just, some of that really doesn't add up. I don't think it's the most important thing to me. That's probably why.
And that's probably why you did it. It's a natural byproduct of the way you show up. Sometimes we want things so badly and we're forcing things, and it's because of that we don't have what we want. Showing up authentically and just keeping your head down, keeping your ego in check, and performing over time. It's not sexy. Yeah. Right? Showing up every day like that, but it works.
And you asked like questions related to, what would I say to maybe, of course, to my old self, that's easier, but I was and still am an overachiever. So for me, it's going to be more like lighten up, don't take things so seriously. Also know that you not only can you not control everything, and you don't even try. I think I used to try to control a lot more, thinking I could fix things. And in real estate, there's so many problems that come our way.
Yeah.
And the old ways, which is also interesting now, what I've seen a big change in real estate is the communication level. If you really are embracing better communication with a client that looks different than what it looked like 20 plus years ago, because now we're having tough conversations with a lot of transparency and just straight to the, getting straight to the point. Getting ahead of it. Talking about the big, ugly, what might be a really bad experience or the way they're going to receive it, and not trying to sugarcoat it and fix it for somebody.
Yeah.
And years when I started in the business, that was a big thing. Everyone would, there's, you've got a $20,000 termite problem, but you could call the client. And I still see agents do this that haven't maybe embraced the new, a better communication, is trying to make it sound like it's no big deal and not having empathy for the client, that's not going to be received well. So there's a communication that's at now a whole nother level if you've been evolving and embracing better communication, improvement in handling clients, understanding a more tactical empathy, what you might be thinking right now and how it's going to affect you, instead of just trying to, manipulate it in my direction, which is not a good idea.
Yeah, self-serving. The word you used, which is another word that's been lost, but is maybe making not a comeback, but an emergence. The word is empathy. And I've been beating this drum for quite a long time. It's funny, in the world of being a loan officer, it's like everyone's so good at the self-promotion, and I've got the best this and the best that. And, people will ask me, like, why why should I work with you? And I'm like, well, look, like, it's not because, you know, as much as I love JMJ and we have amazing people and the products and the this and the that, we all know if you hand the keys to a Ferrari to a 5-year-old, things aren't going to go well, right?
Yeah, pretty sure.
So in the sense of being a loan officer, the word empathy, like, oh, we close on time, you can write with no contingencies and blah, 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 my appraisers and this and that, that's fine. But how do you show up when the client's having a meltdown, right? How do you show up when things are out of our control,
right?
And you have to hold space for somebody in fight or flight? And the empathy piece is what I've always led with, because for me, it's like, if you can't do that, like, it doesn't matter how cool your platform is, right? They're not going to like you.
You're right.
Right?
Yes.
And if you can't set appropriate expectations up front,
Right.
right? Because you want to sugarcoat. And this is true on the real estate side and the finance side. We are, at the end of the day, as human beings, we want to be liked.
Yes.
We are people pleasers. And we want to be this problem solvers, and we want to be the hero. And
Yes.
yeah, sometimes, I'm sorry, it's not going to go well.
Yeah. Yes.
And
Yes.
the sooner we can all, like, embrace that as an industry, maybe shedding the tribalism too, in the competition, make it healthy competition,
Right.
collaborative competition, removing the ego plays. That, to me, is like, if we can get to that place as an industry, and I think you're spearheading that right now, which is really cool, very exciting. It goes back to the seed that you planted with me when I was a young loan officer, where you were just super kind to me.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so it was always there in you. It's really cool to see you in a leadership position talking about it now and bringing it to the forefront, rather than just like, oh, we need to make seven figures and you need to be door knocking, cold calling. But that stuff is so important.
Right.
No one's saying don't work hard, but it matters that you show up, but it matters
Right.
just as much as not more how you show up.
Right.
Right?
And I mean, I feel like I got a little bit of a jump start with empathy and really caring about what other people were feeling and thinking and needing because of my family. It came from my parents. They were always that way.
Yeah.
And
Big
and
Italian
that's
East Coast family.
Yes. And so it was like, take care of other people,
Yeah.
give to other people, never show up empty-handed. I never show up empty-handed to a client, to an event, to a neighbor. I just always am bringing something baked to them, or something that maybe might be their favorite.
I
you
can
know?
confirm this is true.
But so empathy was always kind of, I didn't know that I was empathetic necessarily, but now looking back in time, I realize that I've always cared so much about the other person
Yeah.
and what they really need, and that honesty was not a question mark.
Yeah.
Like, being fully transparent and honest wasn't a question mark. I was a little gun shy to deliver bad news.
It's scary.
That's different.
It can be scary.
It wasn't that I was going to be dishonest
Yeah.
about it. The difference now is I realize how important the delivery of bad news is.
Yeah.
Very early on and immediately, and with empathy.
Yeah.
That it isn't about you're fixing it for somebody right away, that you are truly having to deliver bad news in the best way possible, but that they trust you and they know that you're on their side. And there's a big difference between how real estate agents do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why we're bringing it to the limelight. It's challenging because it is scary. The other piece, being salespeople,
Yes.
is we want their business,
Yes.
and if it doesn't go well, are you okay with losing that client? You know, it's funny because, like, it's counterintuitive. Well, no, you got to do what you got to do to keep the client and
Right.
make it happen. What if you don't? Like, what if you being in integrity on something causes, for their experience, them to say, I need somebody else?
Oh, that happens.
And that happens
That
too.
happens.
Being okay with losing the client because you know you had to stand on your integrity. And I will tell you, I can't tangibly point to the X's and O's of why that works,
Yes.
but I can tell you it does work.
Yes, it does work.
Like, it comes back in a beautiful way. Maybe it takes a year to manifest. I don't know, but it does. And you have to trust that. And that's where you're not controlling
Yes.
things.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
There's so much we don't control, like we talked about. But the way we show up does matter. And sometimes that builds trust. Sometimes the client is just not in alignment with you, though. And you have to be okay with losing them.
And that is a big one.
Yeah.
I think for a long time, I realized by being truthful always and out of the gate didn't mean I was going to get all the business.
Yeah.
Because some people didn't want to hear the truth. They just didn't want to hear the truth.
Yeah.
About value.
Sure.
About timing. About almost, whatever their mind was set on. And still today, that's true. If you are absolutely set on a ridiculous price or ridiculous terms or a ridiculous fee, I'm not here to convince you otherwise. I'm only here to speak the truth and give you honest, if you're asking me for feedback, I'm going to give you honest feedback. And it may work against working with me.
Yeah.
I may not be your agent.
Yeah.
There's a chance of that, and that's
Totally.
okay. And I think that's also some advice I give to newer agents is that not everyone is your client.
Yes.
Not everyone's your client.
Yeah, stop barking up the wrong tree.
And some clients you don't want. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Did I say that?
It's true.
All right.
I
Don't be
don't know,
mad at me. Don't be mad at me.
I'm not mad at you. It's true. These are real truths,
Yeah.
though. Like the other thing I would point to is there's 7.5 more or less billion people on the planet. There's 350 million people in the United States. Orange County is highly densely
Yes.
populated. 3 million people here. LA is like 8 million people or something like that.
Oh.
So
It's a lot of people.
I think that as salespeople too, we have a tendency to do the tunnel vision thing and really narrow our lens with how we view the marketplace. And we
Yes.
forget how giant it is and how many people there are. And when I have a loan officer struggling or kind of like down in the dumps, they lost a deal or whatever, and I'm like, I send to them Stephen Thomas's housing report for LA
Yes.
and Orange County, and oh, look, 10,000 transactions closed last month. You lost one.
I know. Yes.
And
You're okay. Yeah.
back to empathy, and I understand,
Right.
but it's not doing anybody any good groveling on that. What's better is realizing, it is kind of a numbers game, and you
Yes.
aren't going to be in alignment with everyone, and that's also okay.
It really is. It really is. And that takes a while. That does take a while.
It takes a step of faith to show up authentically, knowing it's not going to be for everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
And putting the relationships first, but with the client, but also with the other agents that
Yeah.
are out there, understanding it's a really big community, and
Be nice.
yeah, it really behooves you to be nice, and if it's natural to you, that's great. If it's not, then you better work on it. I mean, fortunately, it feels natural to me because I do care about
Yeah.
the other agents, and the community. Whether they have a totally different view, I think showing up and being curious about what their view is and what
Yeah.
they're really, it might be completely. You don't have to be right. You don't have to be right. Because they're not necessarily, going to appreciate you being right.
Oh, we're touching on some hot button topics
Yeah.
right now.
But being right. I know.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty natural. Like it's probably normal for human tendency, me included,
Yes.
to have a deep need to feel validated and right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I'm fortunate or unfortunate enough to have been crushed by life to a certain extent, and my ego's been crushed.
No. When did that happen?
I've experienced trauma. I see a therapist. Like I've been through it. So I'm on the other end of a lot of humbling experiences.
Me as well. I
Yeah,
get that.
yeah. So if life hasn't taught you that lesson yet, believe me, it's coming. But you can just take our word for it.
Well, chances are it's what makes you who you are,
Yeah,
and you've
totally.
grown from that,
Yes.
and hopefully you become a better person having gone through those challenges.
100%.
That's really
Yeah.
the end goal, hopefully, is that you're better today because of it, not...
I wouldn't switch it out.
Yeah,
I wouldn't,
I
because
wouldn't
I
either.
know
I wouldn't
it's
either.
a weird thing, right? Adversity, rejection in business, failure in
Rejection's
relationship.
huge.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's not helpful in a
Yes.
lot of ways because it hurts our bodies, our emotions, but it
Right.
is what builds character. It is what builds tenacity.
Right.
It is what builds just a full human being.
Yes. No, No,
The
I love
yin and
that.
yang of life, you know?
I know. I love that. It's probably why I'm talking with people every single day about these kind of topics, not just about real estate and what they own, what they're buying, what they're selling, and digging deeper into knowing more about
Human
the person
connection.
and what are their needs. That could be polar opposite of what your needs are, and they're not thinking the same way you're thinking.
Yeah.
And once you realize that there is no right way with that,
Right.
it's just it's what they're thinking, and respect that. Respect is huge. Respect is huge.
Honoring somebody's belief. Yeah. Are you telling me 7.5 billion people aren't going to agree?
I know, that's crazy. And why wouldn't they be working with us, all of them?
They should all love us and adore us.
As though we wouldn't be too tired helping all those people. We could do it.
One thing that's so unique about you, too, is you reached out to me. I didn't reach out to you for this.
Yeah.
That was really cool. You know what I mean?
Thank
Most of the time in the hierarchy of real estate with lenders and realtors, it's loan officers saying, can you please give me some attention? So there's something about you. There is.
Oh, thank you. Well, the reason why is I sense, and my hearing you speak, I also knew you would be kind of, again, if you're going to be in this environment, you want to feel like you're with some sense of like-mindedness.
Yeah.
And that's what I felt.
Yeah,
so that's why I was like, okay, yeah.
Oh, it makes me feel
Yeah,
so
there
good.
you go. So whatever you've done to get to this point, I'm teasing. You worked your way
Jody.
here. I'm
Thanks,
teasing.
Jody.
I'm
Thank
teasing.
you.
I
You're
probably would
right.
have talked with you 10 years ago or however many years.
I was too afraid.
But there's a lot to tackle with what we could share today. So you tell me where
sure.
you want to go with it. I was thinking more related to communication, but we could talk about anything. So what else?
I think we've done that. Well, I have to ask just from a basic market standpoint, if that's okay.
Sure.
We're noticing this year. I'm going to have Logan Modashami on in a couple weeks. I'm going to have Stephen Thomas on in a month from now. I love nerding out on this stuff as much as I love the human experience aspect of this. That's probably my favorite, to be honest with you. I also love nerding out on market data and what's going on. You have done an incredible job with the market share you have in coastal Orange County. But we're noticing this year a shift. Inventory is noticeably changing. And it's been a long road with COVID and then 3 years of just inventory being anemic at best. This year is different. Orange County as a whole is up 80% year over year on inventory. Like, what's your thought on that? Where are we going?
Yeah, it's so interesting too. Remember 28 years in the business, like I don't get shaken up too quickly about all of a sudden a great month or a bad month or
don't get too high,
interest
don't get
rates.
too low. Yeah.
Kind of right in the middle.
Good advice.
I think that it helps a lot for sanity's sake and to keep at peace, reacting quickly to just new news.
Especially stuff you don't control.
Again, not controlling it. I would say I'm still really optimistic about coastal Orange County. I mean, we live in an amazing place, and even with the market changes, if there's of more inventory, I think there's some things that never change, and that's like just still making sure you're really very you really know what you're doing related to helping your client, and you're looking at the market, you're making sure you're positioning yourself right, whether you're listing that property, and you're making sure you're priced appropriately. You're really looking at what's happening. If market inventory is building up in their community, you have to weigh that in. So yes, we are seeing more inventory. We're seeing homes, the same thing though, that's never really changed too much though. The beautiful homes, or the homes that are done well or priced right, or the homes that maybe aren't beautiful but they're priced appropriately, we're still seeing those homes sell and move. And so it really does matter marketing it right and pricing it right and having the right agent representation, without a doubt. I don't think those things are going to change at all in the next year.
It matters who you hire.
Yeah, so you could get really deep into the numbers and let the data drive you or scare you. I tend not to do that.
That's good advice. I fall victim to doom scrolling, they call it.
I know, yeah.
I can't help it. It's just the way my mind works, and I'm aware of it. But I'm an addict, by the way. I'm sober 900 and something days right now. So I have an addictive personality.
Good for you,
Yeah,
though.
thank you.
Congratulations on that.
Thanks. You have to channel it, because that behavior isn't going to change. It's how you channel it. You know what I mean? Like, I can get better at it, but if I'm not careful, the doom scrolling on my phone can really take on a life of its own. And I think that's probably true for a lot of people. Real estate is always, a leading driver of the economy. There's always, if you go on Twitter or X, and you listen to the real estate gurus, self-proclaimed.
Yes.
The entire market's going to crash, and everything's coming undone, right?
Yes.
And don't buy. You'd be an idiot to buy, right? So, like, that is constantly the messaging that's out there. And you have to be careful, right? Because real estate is very local. And if we're comparing coastal Orange County to someplace in middle America with a very low population, it's a different market. You know, it just is. The Austin, Texas is not coastal Orange County.
That's why you need to know the market that you're in. A lot of times, know the market that you're in. Accept the fact that you cannot control what's happening in the market right this minute. You're not going to, you as an individual, as powerful as you are, strong as you are, you're not going to control that. But, people are always going to be buying and selling.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I've learned in the last 28 years, and I've been through already a few recessions.
That's probably what's changing right now. Like, people have been in a wait-and-see attitude with inventory because of the shock and awe of high interest rates.
Right.
But it's been 3 years.
Yes.
Now it's like, this 1,300 square feet's not cutting it anymore. You know what I mean?
Right?
I like my 2.5% rate, but I just had another kid and another, right? Or we need to move for work or school district or whatever the case may be. Life moves
Life
forward.
is going to move, right?
Yeah.
Families are going to grow. People are going to lose people in their family. People are going to. There's going to be so many reasons that people are still going to have to buy and sell real estate. And so it's really, you've got to stay in the positive mindset to be available, ready, experienced, equipped, ready to support them and also represent them in the right way. And it's going to happen. I know that people get scared by the data, and a lot of people are going to sit on the sideline. Oh my gosh, the market's going to collapse.
Yeah, as we've seen so many painful stories over the last 5 years, market's going to crash, I'm not going to buy.
I know.
And then 3 years later, what happens?
Yes.
It's painful. I feel, back to the word empathy, I feel a lot of empathy because it's easy to get swept up in the narrative. In terms of it matters who you hire. The best way I know how to explain this, whether it's loan officer or realtor, it's just the reality of our marketplace. The barrier to entry is very low.
Right,
It's like,
yes.
way down here.
Yes.
You spend a couple weeks studying on a crash course.
Right.
You pass a real estate or NMLS exam, and voila, you're ready, right?
Boy, oh boy.
So it's just,
yes.
Obviously, there are a ton of incredible human beings and professionals in our marketplace.
Yes.
But the 80-20 rule does apply.
It does.
And so you do have to be careful. You really do. It does matter.
It does matter. And, this is a complicated marketplace. Real estate's very complicated now. Now look at everything from disclosures to, there are so many details that require your experience.
Yeah.
Your expertise. And to not have someone like that on your side when you're buying and selling, you could be put in a pretty bad position quickly.
Yeah.
So that is why with new agents coming on, you asked about that, I think it's so important that they are not only mentored but working hand in hand beside a top agent or on a team.
Yeah.
I really do. Now
Such
we didn't
good advice.
and at
Such
20,
good advice.
28 years ago when I started, like I said, there was only like the husband and wife teams at the time.
Yeah.
Or
They weren't the big teams.
Or the two brothers or whatever. That was the kind of team. There wasn't really, they weren't even called teams, right? And so I tried to work beside very experienced agents that I trusted, that I did feel aligned with, their personality type, the way they handled clients. And I tried to learn from them, and I would offer to do anything for them. Their open houses, I'll bake for you.
Yeah.
I'll show homes for you. Whatever you need me to do so I can glean some knowledge from you and work beside you. So but had they been a leader of a team like mine, I would have absolutely jumped for that opportunity.
Yeah.
Because
that's
I
important
don't
advice.
think you can, it takes years to learn if you're trying to do it on your own.
Yeah.
Never mind how much money and time you have to put into it. And then how do people trust hiring you when you have very little experience and you're not
or
working?
transaction volume.
So that would absolutely be my recommendation now, but also treat it as a full-time career. We still see people with their real estate license. Everyone, there's like 5 real estate agents on my own street,
Yeah.
and most of them don't work.
Yeah. Right.
Most of them don't work. So, you could get your real estate license and
Having your
essentially-
license doesn't mean you're going to make money.
It's mind-boggling sometimes that somebody will even hire that agent to help them sell their home.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, you realize they've only sold 1 home in the
Right.
last 5 years,
Yeah.
or maybe even if it's only 2 in the last year. I mean, it's just not a whole lot of experience. So
It's high stakes.
it really
It really is.
That's
And
a
when-
lot of money to put in. It could be 100,000, 200,000. I mean, I look at, we do getting deep dive into our statistics
Yeah.
over the last 25 years. Our average sale to list price ratio, meaning if we've listed a home for 2 million or 3 million or 1 million, our average sale to list price has been 100% or a little bit more in the last so many years. And over the 25
impressive.
years, it's still been within only a few percent of our list price, always exceeding the other agents, the other top agents, because so that's putting a lot of money in people's pockets. So really it does, when you
It
talk
matters.
about it matters who you hire, the attention to detail for all of those things matters so much, and protecting them too with all the legal aspects of it, the disclosures, the inspections, what could come up. So
And a lot can come up.
So that's why, as a new agent, you are just out there floundering around, because how are you going to know those things without
gotta
having
find
someone?
mentorship.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking about is how much people need that. How agents really need that.
And it sounds like you really have a heart to serve in that arena.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, we don't take on a lot of new agents because we have a team of 13 right now.
There's only
I love
so
our
much
team.
you can do.
We have taken on, a couple new agents here and there. Usually they've gotten their feet wet a little bit before they join our team.
You know what your next thing is?
Yeah.
A training program.
There you
That's
go.
scalable. That's your next thing.
Well, yeah, and
Just saying.
I'm in a coaching group right now that, like I said, they do want me in that arena. So it's just more about time.
Yeah.
And making sure, because now I put so much of
Work-life balance, I get it.
Yes, I needed to balance into things, but no, I do have a heart for, agents that are learning, or even agents that have been doing it for a long time. Maybe they haven't really found their
Progress.
or just
sense of purpose.
exactly.
Yeah.
You're answering it. You're filling in the gaps, right?
See, alignment. I get it.
Yeah.
It sounds like you had to figure it out as you went. I did too, until I found my mentor. But I tell you what, mentorship changed my life. And it wasn't just how to sell real estate or loans.
No,
right?
it isn't.
I got to see him for almost 10 years, how he showed up as a man, right? How he showed up as a father, as a dad. And it was impressive. And, I got to shadow, and I was insatiable, and I was annoying, right? Because I wanted to know, how do I do this? And you do have to kind of approach things from that perspective, because there is something called unnecessary suffering. If you're finding yourself floundering in real estate, and you're not on a team with mentorship like this, there's a very obvious reason why. Like, you're trying to reinvent the wheel and you don't need to.
Right. And some agents are out there, we've also had some agents that they were on their own for a while, but they just really realized the value of having much more of a consistent everything from a lead base to open houses to
Structure.
Yes, our client base, it just makes it so much more peaceful. I do think the agents, we have some incredibly strong agents on our team that both list and help buyers. They're doing both sides of it most of the time. I just think they really really put a lot of value in the fact that they can have this team structure support. And I think we, just as a world right now, we need to rely on our community more. I don't think that was something that we talked about.
We are tribal,
Yes.
as a human being. Like at the end of the day,
Right.
so are my corgis. I sit in the couch sometimes with my family watching a Netflix show, and I see the corgis and the cat and the kids and my wife, and I'm like, yeah, we are really, I understand Maverick, go on your own, all this stuff, but no, the sense of belonging and community.
Yes. Like the blue zones.
Yeah.
I was fascinated. I went to Sardinia.
Yeah.
I went to Sardinia in the past year just because
And they're eating sweets and doing all this stuff. I think, we talk about longevity, and this is what's so crazy. People aren't like, oh, you have to eat raw broccoli and this and that. And that in and of itself is stressful.
Right.
And cortisol is a stress hormone. And if cortisol is the only thing that's running your body 24/7, it doesn't matter how much broccoli you eat. Right?
Very true.
There's the reason the blue zone folks live as long as they do.
Yes.
They're genuinely happy. Yes. They don't take themselves too seriously.
They don't.
Right?
They don't.
And I think that's probably more important than, whether or not you hit your macros every day.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Well, community is so huge. I think we knew it. I think it's made sense. It's just like some of these things we've known, right? We know eating better is still better than eating crappy.
Don't eat
right?
McDonald's every day.
We know that exercising is better than sitting on the couch. I mean, there are some things that are just
obvious.
We should know these things, right?
Yes.
And in a certain way with real estate, you would think that some of that would be common sense too. We know hiring someone is just like if you're going to go in for surgery of a medical surgery, heart, doesn't matter. You want to hire the best.
Totally.
You want to hire someone with a lot of experience.
Because that's life and death.
Right? But people need to think about the fact that this is a lot of money. It might be their whole retirement. It could be whether it's part of their retirement, their whole retirement, whether it's for their children. It's a really big investment. Yeah. Right? It's a big part of their life.
I mean, generally speaking, probably 9 times out of 10, it's the biggest investment of one's life.
I know. Yeah. And so getting back to who you work with does matter there is because, look at what's at stake.
Yeah.
Again, you don't want to get too crazy about it. So how do you just breathe through that? Because you don't want to put so much emphasis in, every little last penny. But on the other hand, some of that extra money is going to go to good use for that family.
Well, and it's the act of hiring correctly that allows you to let go and relax a little bit.
Yes. Yes. You're in good hands. Woo!
High five.
We're supposed to do that.
That was not planned.
I know. Yeah, there you go. But also, and I was just talking with a client yesterday, and we're going to sell one of their estates that's here in Orange County, and it's a big property, and their family passed, one of their parents passed away, and one of the first things that she said was, I just don't want to have to worry. She says, I'm hiring you because I just feel like I could just go here, you take it,
Totally.
And really what that meant is you take on the stress, but also you know what you're doing. Yeah. So don't, she doesn't want to control something she can't control. Yeah. And she doesn't want to, she wants to stay in her own lane.
Yeah.
I'm in the real estate lane, she's in her lane.
Yeah.
Hand it to the professional with experience. And I think that's where you again, take some of the pressure. We try to do things that we shouldn't even be doing. Sometimes it's delegating, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Right? Delegate. You know what that means?
My entire life as a loan officer has been trying to figure out, how to build a team. Because I've been in a position as a one-man show in loan officer land where it's all on you, and there's only so much you can control and manage, and you're spinning all the plates and multiple escrows, and you just don't have a good team or a team at all. Right?
Yeah, and that's important. The right team matters too.
There's only so much one human being, Jason Thibodeau, Jody Clegg, can do on their own. And I think what you probably would agree with this, what makes us more unique or special is because of who we've surrounded ourselves with.
Yes.
Yeah, like my ops manager, Rico. Shout out. Hi, Rico.
Hi, Rico.
My underwriting manager, Tony. Oh, my gosh, they've changed my life. Like, you know what I mean? My processor, Rebecca. My business partner, Matt, who runs a branch for us in Idaho. And all these loan officers. It's like that where I have made myself in a good way, I'm not saying this in a negative sense,
Yes.
I have made myself somewhat irrelevant.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Not irrelevant in
gonna
the sense
call you.
where I
Jason who? Yeah.
but it's like
Yeah.
it's not all on me, you
Yes,
know.
yes.
Or
That's good.
I bring the
That's good.
10,000+ hours of mastery and the nuance and the empathy and all that. So no one's going to replace that.
Right.
No one's going to replace that. But I know when I hand it to my team, they're going to do a lot of things way better than I ever could.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that's what it's like, a full encompassing cohesive type thing where, you know, the Showtime Lakers or the Chicago Bulls during the Jordan era, it wasn't just Jordan.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Magic Johnson.
Yes.
Right? So there's a lot to be said for that too.
Well, this is so random. I don't know why I'm sharing this right now, but I was just thought about something. So back in like 2012, and of course that was also the year I started going through the divorce, but I got kind of obsessed with, I was always doing yoga for a number of years, like 20 plus years, but I kind of got obsessed with, I decided I want to walk on my hands again. Okay, that's so random.
It's actually a cool thing to be able to do.
Okay, so I thought to myself,
It's a
well,
sign of good strength.
when I was a kid, I used to walk on my hands. I was like, you know what? Because I was watching all the, different instructors and people in the class, and most of them quite a bit younger.
Yeah, could do it really well.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I think I can do this. So I worked on it. But the funny thing is I realized as I started to do it, number one, that I could. So I was a little surprised at that. Because I was walking on my hands pretty good for a while.
Yeah.
I still stand on my hands, but don't walk on them as much as I used to. It was kind of a weird thing, but what it was is I was
You
like,
wanna show
okay,
us?
I wanted a different perspective on life,
Yeah.
and that wasn't my original intention. But as I started doing this, I was like, wow, this is so interesting. The world is a little upside down this way. Different perspective on life.
That's true.
And had to do it with strength. And so it built something, But somehow it just was an interesting time that like we do go through periods of time, like you were talking about your...
Periods of unbalance.
Yeah, unbalance, And...
it's also a part of the necessary process.
Yeah. And one thing that I started to realize over time with that is... and I don't know why this goes hand in hand with it, is just that, surrounding yourself with the right people, right? You're talking about delegating, you're talking about having the right team. I mean, it really has, even though I've been doing it 28 years, I would say the last 5 to 7 years has been without a doubt, like the very best team. There's not even close. Like, I can't even think of a time in my life that, it's taken a while to figure it out, So I guess, I don't know if that standing on my hands and walking on it, like, shook me up a bit. But I know that I started to look at life differently.
Yeah.
And being much more open-minded to, like, the right people beside me and the right people on the team and the right culture.
That's a great way to put a cap on that part of the conversation because, I don't want people to think, hey, you're 25, you just got your license, go start a giant team. No. Join a good team. But it takes time. 2004, I started. 2020, in the heart of COVID, when we were way too busy.
Right?
Way more busy than we wanted to be.
Yes. We didn't think we would be, but yeah.
No, yeah. Most stressful time of my life, but in that period was when we started putting this team together that I have currently. So it took me 16 years to find a team that I can, basically I feel the same way you do.
Yeah, that's...
So the message is that took...
It takes a while.
2 decades
Yeah.
or whatever.
So give yourself time.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
don't have that's the other thing. There's no fast forward button on this, guys. There just isn't. I think the key is like a lot of the stuff I work on with loan officers, realtors can relate to this too, is, man, if I just get to here, I'd be happy.
Right.
Right. Well, newsflash, you're going to eventually get to there and then you're not going to be happy. So the key is not to always let what's driving you as a sense of worthlessness until you get somewhere.
Right.
It's like really working on the path of self-acceptance where you're at right now while still wanting to improve your situation. Because then the journey is so much easier.
It is.
Rather than, going to bed every night, not being able to sleep, feeling like crap. Like self-acceptance, work on that.
Yes. And the underlying too, I mean, without a doubt, if you don't already like what you're doing, you're probably not going to like it in 5 to 10 years. You've got to enjoy what you're doing in this business, even as difficult as it is.
Yeah.
You know, and I do think that some people
point.
are in real estate just trudging along, like
For the money or whatever.
yeah, I don't know. They just, you could tell they don't really like it, you know, and so, you know, it's a full-time commitment or beyond, so we know that. So if you're getting into it part-time because you're going to just help a friend.
Part-time doesn't work in this business.
Part-time because you have another job, and that doesn't work. But also just really, I think to your point, you know, you've got to look at it in a big picture, like long-term. It's kind of like buying a piece of property. And the advice when someone's looking to buy right now is, you have to know their story. Every buyer is different and every seller is different. If they're buying for the long term, then that's great.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So same thing with being in real estate as an agent, I think, or being a lender. You have to like what you're doing, and it has to be a big picture, a long term. It can't be this month or next month or only one deal.
Yeah.
And I do see that also come up a lot.
It's tough. Yeah, a lot of folks are trying to figure out paycheck to paycheck, and that makes it really difficult because you're driven by, you know, absolute abject need, right?
Yes.
And that can be tough. Everyone's situation is different. But hopefully you found some of this advice helpful because it's meant
I hope so.
to plant some seeds.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and we can come back and do this
We're going to
again.
continue.
We like it.
I like it. I love it. This is
I
what
like
gives
it
me a
too.
passion these days.
I can tell you like it. You're good at it.
Thanks.
I'm probably not looking into the camera much, so forgive me. I don't know.
You're fine. You're fine.
Yeah.
You did great.
Oh, thank you. Is there anything else you want to chat about, or are we done for now?
I think we're done for now. Like,
Okay.
if there's anything on a personal level, books that you're diving into right now, or any parting words of wisdom, and then we can wrap it up.
Oh boy,
Doesn't
look,
have to
you
be.
know,
I don't want to put you on the
no,
spot. but-
not at all. I mean, you know, it's funny. I find myself always curious. You know, I'm forever curious. I
be
say
curious.
that. I'm forever curious.
Yeah.
So I love, like, I do audiobooks to reading. You know, I like, you know, recently I loved the Matthew McConaughey Green Lights. That was really fun.
My wife loves that book.
Oh my gosh, that was really fun.
I haven't listened to it yet, but she loves it.
But like, this is green lights,
Yeah,
meaning,
yeah.
you know, it's when you know, like,
Gives you
go
energy.
forward, go
Yeah.
forward. This is a green light situation.
Yeah.
Listening to that, and it's not a surprise that, of course, I love Mel Robbins and the Let Them theory or approach to life, which it works perfectly right now in my way of thinking, you know. And then I love Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. That's one of my favorite books.
Oh, I don't think I've read that
And
one.
was a hostage negotiator, and he speaks to a lot of tactical empathy, great communication skills. So I'm always learning, and I'm actually on a lot of his calls.
I'll check that out.
Where he's part of this coaching group, which is he's been at a lot of the conferences we go to. It's really
That
pretty
is
wonderful.
so cool.
But
See, I'm learning too.
yeah. So no, I think you never stop learning. You never stop being curious, and for me, it's still about giving and giving back. And, I love that the most.
Yeah.
That's when I'm most comfortable. So
It's really inspiring. You know, you've made it in your career. You've accomplished a ton.
Thank you.
And yet, you are still curious, you know?
I'm very curious.
You're still seeking.
Yes. I have a lot to improve on.
Yeah.
I never feel like I'm done.
Yeah, I don't think we ever graduate from life until we're completely done.
Exactly.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. And that just helps to have fun, right?
Thank you.
Have fun with it.
That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're going to do a series of these as long as you'll have me. And,
and vice versa.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening. More to come. And hopefully you enjoyed the content. I always forget to say this. I'm supposed to say, please like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. There you go.
I'm supposed to start with that because it's just, basic human nature to remind them, but I don't remember. So I just did. Hopefully you heard that.
Okay.
All right, everybody.
Good.
Thank you.
I heard it. I'm subscribing right now.
Thanks,
I
Jody.
already did. All right. We'll see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.